The second part of exercise number 5 for Political Science 560. In this exercise, we're going to be taking the Tiger file and we're going to reproject it so it matches up with the other information that we already have from Guilford County. Now, the reason we have to do this projection is that, as we talked in class, there are multiple ways for information from a 3D round world to be flattened out and put onto a 2D screen or a piece of paper. And Guilford County and the city of Greensboro and the state of North Carolina, basically any of the data sets you're going to get from those kinds of entities in North Carolina will be projected and in a state plane coordinate grid system. The Census Bureau doesn't use that. And since we're going to be getting other data from the county, we're going to get county tax parcels, we're going to get information from the city of Greensboro. Since all of that is in state plane, we're going to go ahead and convert the Census Tiger file into state plane as well. That way, everything will line up. If I don't do that, the census tracts won't line up with Guilford County. So we've got to do that alignment. That's where reprojection comes into play. So the other thing we're going to do in this exercise is, if you remember, the Tiger file downloaded the entire state of North Carolina. We don't need all of that. Since we only want the census tracts that cover Guilford County, we're going to use a feature of Map Window that allows us to do a query based on the attributes of a polygon, or in our case, the attributes of a census tract. Now, one of the census tract attributes is the county number. So we'll go through a process of selecting all the census tracts that fall inside of Guilford County. Then we're going to export those out to their own shapefile, so they'll be their own separate layer, and then we'll be using the Guilford County tracts for the rest of our case study. But let's go ahead and get started with Map Window, and we'll go through the process for reprojecting and then clipping. Let's go ahead and double-click it, and double-click Map Window and launch it. I'm going to reopen exercise number 4. This should look familiar to you. This is what we finished up with at the end of the last exercise. Now, before I do anything else, one of the things you've got to figure out is, what am I going to reproject this Tiger file into? Now, I've already given it away. I told you we were going to reproject into North Carolina state plane grid, but how would you know that if I wasn't here talking to you? So one of the ways you can figure that out is to double-click on the layer in question. This is a layer that you want everything to project to, so this is going to be your target. Double-click on it. Pick projection, and you'll see that it is telling you it is NAD 83. NAD is a datum, don't worry about that. State plane, North Carolina, feet. That's our target. So let's go ahead and we'll exit out of that. We'll exit out of that. And then let's go ahead and add in the census tract layer. We'll pick add. We'll navigate to where I have the different data sets. You remember I stored mine in a folder called Tiger. And this is the census tract file. Gives me an error message, tells me the projections are a mismatch. I knew that going into it, but that's okay. We're going to ignore this mismatch. It tells you that they're mismatched. And you'll notice that the Tiger file is turned on, right? The checkbox is on, so the Tiger file is active. The County Commissioner file is active. We'll turn that off. No tracks. And the reason for that is the tracks are somewhere else off the screen and they don't align with the commissioners. That's why we have to take and do the reprojection. Let's turn the commissioners back on again. So we're going to pick the Toolbox tab under the legend. And under this Toolbox tab, there are a host of tools. And one of the ones that we're going to be using involves projections. So let's go ahead and click to expand projections. Double-click on Reproject Shapefile, and we start the dialog for reprojecting our shapefiles. Now, the first thing we need to do is tell it what shapefile we're going to reproject. So we're going to go ahead and click the plus to select a file, and we'll select a track file, and we'll pick OK. So now we've told Map Window what file we're going to reproject, and now we've got to tell it what we're going to reproject it to. Now, as a practical matter, you're going to have to drill around a little bit to find what you're looking for. Let's just be honest about it. But I already know the path, so we'll walk through it together. If I wasn't here, you'd probably have to hunt a little bit. But we're going to project it. We're going to start off by picking America. We're going to then pick Northern America. We're going to then pick United States of America. We're going to pick NAD 83. NAD again is a datum. We'll pick NAD 83. We're going to pick states, and then we're going to scroll down. We're going to pick North Carolina, and we're going to pick North Carolina feet. Select it, click Reproject. It's going through its reprojection business. It's told us that the file has been reprojected. We're going to pick Close, and we get an error message. I'm not sure why Map Window is giving us this error message. We're going to go ahead and OK through the error message, and we're going to find the file has in fact been reprojected. Possibly between the time I create this video and the time we meet in class, I'll have an answer for you. Just trust me on this. We'll pick OK, and we'll close this. Let's go back to the layers again. Again, I've got my track information. This is my original file, so I need to now load in the one that was just reprojected for me. So I'm going to go back and we're going to pick Add. Here's the one that's been reprojected. You notice now it's telling me it's the track file, but it's the North Carolina feet. So I'll go ahead and double click that. I'm going to ignore this mismatch. I hate that it's giving you this faulty error message. Give me a false positive here, and then pick OK. And then close. So now I have shown on the map on your screen, I have Guilford County, and I also have, and let's go ahead just to prove it to you, let's go ahead and move the county commissioners up to the top. And you notice now the county commissioners do in fact fall onto the tracts for North Carolina. This is the this layer is for the tracts as they came in. So this is the feature class, or this is the layer that came in from the state that's not projected properly for our use. And then this is the feature class, or again, the layer that we pulled in and reprojected into state plane coordinates. So we don't really need this one from the original one from the Tiger anymore. So we'll go ahead and we'll select it, and then we'll remove it. So now we have Guilford County Commissioners, and we also have the entire state of North Carolina. Now, let's go ahead to our next step, which is how to get rid of all the additional counties and all the additional census tracts that we don't want. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use a query through the table editor. So let's go ahead and get started with that. We're going to pick Table. And then we're going to close that because we picked the wrong one. Now we're going to highlight the tracts, which is the one that we're going to be working with. And then we're going to pick Table Editor. And you'll notice it has all the census tracts for the entire state. One of the fields for this is a field called County FP. Now for North Carolina, Guilford County is County 081, and you're wondering, how do I know that? Well, let's go ahead and just take a quick look here for a second. Let's go ahead and close this. Let's turn off the county commissioners for a second. And then let's use our identify tool. We used this earlier in one of the previous exercises. Let's select it. We'll click on a census tract inside Guilford County. And you notice that the county FP code is 81. We'll pick another one. Again, the county FP code is 081. So that we're going to use that for our criteria for our selection. Let's go ahead and close the identify tool. Back to the table again. And we're going to do get all. Right now you'll notice it's only gotten 1,000 of the 2,100 or almost 2,200 census tracts in the counties. But let's go ahead and we'll get to all of them. And now it's pulled down all the census tracts, and we're going to do our query. So we're going to pick the query tool. We're going to tell it this is the field in question, the county FP code. We're going to double click it. We're going to say equals. And then we're going to go ahead and type in the county number that we're looking for. And when you type in things into a query like this, if it's going to be text, and that's just a string text, you can see it says string here, you always put that inside of quotation marks. So you're going to do quote 081 unquote, and then you're going to ask it to execute. And you're going to tell it this is a brand new selection, and you're going to click OK. And once it's done that selection, you can go ahead and click close. We know it's done the selection because down here it's told us that it's picked 119 census tracts. So we'll go ahead and pick close. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to export out just the census tracts in question. We're going to do that through selection, export selected features, and we're going to give this this is going to be a brand new shapefile for us. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to call this Guilford Tracts, just so we can keep it straight from everything else. And then we'll pick save. And it's now asking us, do we want to load the new shapefile? Do we want to add this to our map? And we do. So we'll click yes. We're going to ignore this mismatch. Again, hate this error. And then we're going to go ahead and close this. And we're going to go ahead and close the table editor as well. So now I have Guilford Tracts, I have the Guilford County Commissioners, and I have tracts for the entire state. Let's go ahead and turn off the tracts for the entire state. And now you see I have tracts just for Guilford County. Turn on the Commissioners again. Sure enough, they all line up. In fact, let's go ahead and move it to the top of the list so you can see that. And so now we have basically two feature classes or two layers that we're interested in. One is the Guilford County Commissioner layer, and the other is the Guilford Tracts layer. So we'll go ahead and we'll select the tracts that have been projected for the entire state, and we'll go ahead and remove those because we don't need them anymore. Now, if you haven't already, we should go ahead and save this project and give it a new name. We'll call this exercise number 5. So let's go ahead and we'll pick project, save as, and we'll go to our folder for our class, and we'll go to our lab exercises. And you'll notice I already have one out here saved for exercise number 5. But we'll go ahead and I'll just overwrite that, but you're going to want to put in a new name there and call it exercise 5, and then select save. Now I'm going to have to replace mine. You won't have to do that for yourself. And now I have a new exercise 5. And that's everything I want to accomplish in part 2 of this exercise. In part 3 of the exercise, the final portion, we'll go through a process of attaching or joining the attributes from the American Community Survey that we have for income, and we'll be joining those to the census tracts.